Good evening and welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting. Call to order. Everybody's here except Lonnie. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of December 14th, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. New business, consideration of adding a special revenue account for Raymond Parks and Recreation. Sharice?
Yes, I am here tonight on behalf of Joe Crocker. He's at a conference today, and I don't know if it goes into tomorrow or not, but we felt it important to get this on the agenda as soon as possible before budgets are actually prepared, because we would need to know if this is approved by the selectmen or not. But what we are proposing is to set up what's called a special revenue account specifically for the recreation department, in that it would segregate the donations, the grants, scholarship funds, donations, program registrations and whatnot into what's called the special revenue, and the expenses associated with running those programs and events would be expended in that same, well, it's actually like a separate fund. And this would be very similar to what we have already for like the beautification committee. That is a special revenue. Donations come in specifically for the beautification committee and the expenses related to the beautification committee. And then they net out and they have what's called their own fund balance. So this would help him in, keeping things a clearer picture and being more transparent as to the profit and loss and sustainability of the rec department, having a special revenue account. And we'd like to start that with the start of the new fiscal year, July 1.
And this is a form that most communities employ, is it, Sharice?
A lot of communities do it, but it depends on if they have a full-time rec department or not. I did solicit a few of my colleagues with the Maine Tax Collectors Treasurers Association, and they have a couple that said they do, a couple that say they still maintain it in the general fund, and a couple others actually have what is called an enterprise. But this really shouldn't be treated as what is referred to as an enterprise account, because it's not really in a status quo of having its own assets and liabilities per se, where it would be operated like its own little business. This is more to just isolate the revenues that come in specifically to the rec department and isolate and segregate the expenditures for the rec department. And that's the purpose of the special revenue. And it is a lot of auditors do suggest doing this for the rec department. And they are familiar with having it done that way.
So currently they, excuse me, they don't have their own account line?
They do have their own account line, Joe.
So under their account line, you would just put a special revenue fund.
Correct.
Okay.
So these are monies that are outside of what is raised by appropriation.
Right.
The other issue.
Yeah, so what are you going to do then with Tasseltop? Because Tasseltop right now is an enterprise.
That's correct. That would stay as its own enterprise.
Why wouldn't you bring that under there then? Or does that have to be an enterprise because it's the lease, or it's the state thing?
Yeah, I believe that's because of the state lease of the property.
I don't think that's a requirement, but I think it makes a lot of sense to keep it segregated, because we have always tried to operate the Tasseltop Park based on the revenue stream, and it's been revenue neutral to the town. But another thing Joe told me about the special revenue account issue is that, particularly during the startup time, it's pretty difficult to project your actual expenses for a lot of these programs. And so this gives him a little more flexibility. But as Sharice pointed out, it's something that's pretty common. The auditors are familiar with it. It's something that's auditable, and it's something that, it's not how we treat other funds within the town's chart of accounts. But given the nature of the rec department and the revenue streams that it has and the programming he's trying to create, I think it makes sense. I mean, you can revisit it at a later time, but But I'm definitely in favor of it and would recommend it.
But I don't have a problem with it. I'm just wondering why. I mean, if we're looking at doing the rec, the rec is a department. Tassel Top falls under that. Why wouldn't we want to? I mean, you can still segregate it under, line item under there, but now you've got, now you've got everything all in one place. Otherwise, we've got part of it over here, part of it over here.
Well, I think you could. I'm just saying that we have always kept Tassel Top separate. I don't know as you have to. I don't think that's a state requirement at all.
Well, I mean, we kept it separate because we didn't have a rec.
I know. It's your choice, I think. Although, unless it's something enterprise fund wise, what do you think, Cherise?
Well, it's, you're commingling, funds, basically. Tassel Top has, that is not a recreation program per se in the scheme of things. It's not the ski program, it's not the basketball program. And that's what he's trying to do, is segregate his recreation programs, whether it be baseball, basketball, soccer, whatnot, into its own fund. And then it will, at the end of the year, it will net out and create its own, what they call fund balance, and to show whether or not his recreation department is profitable and sustainable. And if not, he needs to, find out why it's not. And, I think it would be easier for him to track his purchases, based on his revenue sources, as well as, future budgeting for expansions. He's, looking at different things to bring to the rec department going forward. And, Tassel Top is specifically, Tassel Top in that, we take gate admissions, we have the snack shack, we have the cabin rental, and the expenses related all to Tassel Top stay within that particular enterprise.
And the
I
point
have
that
to
you
agree
made.
with-
Go ahead.
I have to agree with that, only because I look at Tassel Top as its own business. And then Parks and Rec is all the volunteer programs that he's gonna be doing, all the different activities, all the sports, all of that. So because Tassel Top is kind of self-sufficient is what it is, whatever, you know what I mean? But on the other hand, is any monies that have been transferred over from either basketball or rec or baseball or whatever, those will go under the Parks and Recs for the sports and that type of thing under the programs. But I don't know, I guess I always saw Tassel Top as separate.
The concern I would have is the issue that she spoke of at the top, the transparency issue as we're starting this new department. It'd be very easy to see what we're doing in terms of programming and revenues generated. It's not going to be revenue neutral though when you factor in salaries and whatnot for the rec department. If you bury it or combine it with Tassel Top, Tassel Top is an income producing machine. And, I mean, it would be one seamless, I guess, rec, accounting line. But I think that many people might question, what's happening with the rec department and want to see it in a much more open way. And I think that's why towns do it that way, so they can see what they're spending, what they're doing for programming.
Well, special revenue accounts are set aside for income that does not come under a normal appropriation. So if you're getting donations to a specific program, that's why you have a special revenue account, because you have not appropriated the money through the town, and you want to see where that income stream comes from and then what's being spent on the program. So I think it makes perfect sense to do it that way.
What way? Like Teresa's? Like what she's saying?
Yeah, set up a special revenue account for basketballs.
Yeah.
I don't think we have skiing, but soccer and all those things that people donate, like registration fees and all that stuff. That would go under your special revenue account. And then you would have a subline for the expense on that specific item.
Yep.
And then you can see at the end of the year, did it make money? Did it lose money? That's why you have special revenue accounts.
They did have a ski program this year, but I think
It got canceled, right?
Yeah,
They
it
canceled,
it did.
So I'll make a motion to adopt the special revenue account for Parks and Recreation.
Second.
Okay, everybody in favor say aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
All right. Thanks, Sharice.
Thank you.
All right, consideration of adopting mainstay retirement to promote employee recruitment and retention. Bruce?
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So yeah, just made it by the skin of my teeth getting back from that accident. Sorry about that. Seems to be the way it is lately. So looking at all our strategies for recruitment and retention and working with our regional groups, our local team of 6 mutual aid departments that we're working with routinely, and now having talks with county, et cetera, on looking at regional approaches and stuff. The common theme is how to standardize things so that we don't poach from each other when it comes to per diem help, and we don't try to, I guess, steal each other's employees. Because when we hire somebody, we have a vested interest in them, and we spend a lot of money. I come up with about $10,000 in cost every time we advertise, put through physicals, and have to do to get a person up to par, and then we lose them in a year or so. And we started looking at that pretty heavily, as you know, over the past few years here. And the majority of the folks that are going say that one is the retirement benefit, and the second part of that is the reasons why they leave. So
Can you repeat that, Bruce? I can't, there's a buzzing going on.
is there, I'm sorry, I don't know if a radio might be interfering somewhere. I've got them turned down, but can you hear me better if I come closer to the mic?
Yep.
It seems to buzz every time you talk.
There is.
Yeah.
And I got something in the computer. Anyways, so we're looking at methodologies for recruitment and retention, and knowing that our folks leave because of retirement benefits that aren't the same as others or that are greater elsewhere, and pay obviously is another point of interest. But we're looking at the retirement, and I know that I could tell you that in this contract that we're now meeting on, retirement through the state, main PERS is one of the things that they're asking for. We'd already been talking about it before now. So I said, why don't we try to get this on the docket and see, let's try to add this into this year's budget request as in our draft budget. Let's open up some real good conversations between the board and the budget committee and our department and Dawn, and see what we might be able to accomplish with this using it as a recruitment retention tool. One of the things that came forward from our last meetings with our small regional group was standardization of pay for per diems, so that we're not poaching from each other, and trying to just kind of standardize the payroll and the benefits and things.
Yeah, but can I suggest that could be considered antitrust, and you want to be really careful with that?
Right. And that's why we're working careful with it. Believe me. If we have a per diem pool that we're utilizing as a group of 6 or 8 towns, and that's where we wanted to work. And that's on the per diem side of the house, if you will. As far as the union goes, that's a whole different ballgame and such. So, and then knowing that it's a union ask, it was in the union's ask not to do it, but to look into it, the last contract. And we ended up with a bunch of confusions there, if you will, or a bunch of things that kind of set us back a little bit. Kathy Ricker started working on it and researching it. It wasn't one of the points they had to have during the contract negotiations or as part of it to be enacted under the contract. They just wanted us to look into it. And then we switched finance directors, and he wasn't quite familiar with it, was training, etc. And now we're with Sharice, who's very familiar with main PERS. And I think that now we're able to get some more data and things like that out there. So basically, as a recruitment tool, and because the union's going to ask for this in their contract, I thought it would be a smart thing at this point to see if one, you would entertain us putting this into our budget in our draft budget, to start looking at it, to start opening these honest conversations across the board, and taking a hard look at providing this benefit so that we are more standardized with most of the towns around us. As far as the IAFF goes, their towns they represent, there are 2 in Maine, is what I'm told by their vice president, that do not have main PERS. We are one. Gray is the other. So in looking at that, it obviously would be more attractive elsewhere with the 2/3 retirement at no age, at 20 years with the COLA. things like that that are being offered for someone to go there versus a 457 type retirement account. And I think my concern is, and I expressed this to Mr. Willard, is that, as I said in the beginning, we hire somebody, we advertise, we bring them in, we orient them, we train them on each piece of equipment carried on that equipment, and train them about the town, our procedures, all the stuff. And we have $10,000 easily invested into a person. Now we lose them at the end of a year and a half, 2 years. I think that speaks volumes as to what our investment is in people when we lose them. And I think that maybe we should be trying to do something that would retain them and keep them here. They're more valuable if we keep the trained person here to respond. So, basically, that's it in a nutshell.
What I would like to do is to have an alternate, build the budget as we normally would, and then to put together a proposal showing you exactly what main PERS would cost, and have that discussion. And it's not going to be less expensive, by the way. And we can get into that later, but it's something that came up, as Bruce said, last time around. This time it's an actual ask, and it is the predominant retirement program of firefighters, paramedics in Maine, and that's the first question they ask. Do you have it? And that's not something that helps us with trying to attract and retain people.
But we do have a retirement plan, don't we?
We do, but it's not competitive to what that would be.
So the question is, if we're going to offer main PERS, sorry, Joe. If we're going to offer main PERS, then we're going to be offering it to every employee or just the fire department?
Right now, the discussion is just about the fire department. We can't, the rest of us, many of us are too beyond the time where that would be of any interest. For the younger people, I think it would have interest, but it's a special program for firefighters, paramedics. It's not available to administrative employees. People who would be in the public works department, for instance, wouldn't be eligible for that. They do have programs that we would be eligible for. They're not as good at programs, but they are something that is a pretty standard offer in a lot of communities.
But a lot more expensive.
But a lot more expensive, yes.
Absolutely.
What's the vesting schedule?
I'm sure.
What is the
Don't have a
vesting
lot of that
schedule?
data.
I think it's 5 years.
I think 5 is the initial, yes.
Yeah, 5 years.
So how do you think it's going to help you retain people if the vesting schedule is 5 years?
Well, because right now you don't get them to begin with. And if you get them and they like the environment, which they all say they do, they say they like the environment, they like the town. But when they discover that they can get a 20-year retirement by moving, a lot of them do that. And so I think, part of it is the retirement program. The other thing they like, obviously, is they like the Maine municipal health care as well. And they like the fact that they can get better wages. So there's a lot of things working kind of against us in some ways.
So
We're mixing apples and oranges here a little bit when we start throwing in the medical and whatnot, because half of it is they don't understand how the medical plan works. And the fact is that, they go to the MMA and, they end up paying more out of pocket than they do if they make the full use of the HRA. So, I mean, some of that is an educational thing and whatnot, but
I'm not saying it's right.
yeah, but on the ones that are asking for, how many are they all contributing fully to their full contribution that they can?
No.
for that. I don't know.
They
I
are
think
not.
it's an important element, because it goes to the heart of, do they want us just to pay everything for them, or are they willing to step up to the plate too? I mean, part of your retirement is planning for yourself too. You can have your employer plan a lot for you, but if you're not taking care of yourself, then excuse me, you're not really taking care of yourself. So I think that, the proof has got to be in the pudding there. If they're not doing full contribution, it really is saying they don't care about their future.
So this is also for all of them, not just the union ones, correct?
This right now is for the union full-time members. They're all in the union.
And
And how many
are there?
full-time, wait a minute, how many full-time union members do we have?
There are 8.
Do we have any spots open?
There will be when Bobby retires, yes.
Okay,
One.
but there's only 8 total.
Only
Right.
8 total, yes.
All right,
And Kathy and I are of the age where it would not benefit us at all to start investing in that.
okay.
Our investment would be too great, the gain would be too little at this point.
So, okay,
Well, you
Yeah,
know,
I guess
mean,
I'm
that gets
open to
into- that
looking
gets
at
into
it.
A whole different
Oh,
thing
but-
too, is that, you know, are we gonna be offering 1, 2, 3, 4 different plans? I mean, you know, because you're saying that in your case, it wouldn't help you. But if we make this move, I mean, you're either making the move or you're not. And so, you know, I don't want to get in the position where we've got 6 or 7, you know, this isn't a Chinese restaurant where you got some from column A and some from column B. You know, it's either A or it's B.
So some towns actually do just offer it to their fire rescue and police. But I'm not saying that's a good idea. I'm not saying that, you know, that I'm not disagreeing with you on the other issue, the other point you made about healthcare and the analysis of that. All I'm doing is citing what they say to us when they leave.
I'm willing to listen, but I think it's going to be an expensive move to do it. And I think it will have 0 impact on retention. But that's just my opinion. You know, just watching what's going on in the job market right now, people don't jump in and go, "What's your retirement plan?" That's the first question they ask. You know, so
I have gotten that before though, quite often actually, when people call about the job, Joe, they'll say, "What do you offer for pay? What do you offer for retirement?" And I've had folks say, "No, I guess I won't apply at that point," when they hear the retirement.
We actually have gotten that question as well. What they seem to want is they want main PERS, MMA, and you know, they want top pay, obviously.
yeah.
so.
If you're gonna get
okay.
anybody who's veteran at all, that's what you gotta do. If you can get people starting out, but you're going to see them want to move to that environment.
All right, here's
What-
what I'm thinking on this whole thing, because this is kind of, we're doing
Yeah.
this for 8 members, right? I'm also thinking of, watching Alex down in my corner down here, and I'm thinking, yeah, he's young enough to get into the retirement system. Do you know what I mean that we would be offering something for other employees? But I'm also thinking too, is we've got a lot of on-call per diem and everything else employees. So we're doing this to pull people for 8 full-time people, I guess is what it is. We're doing something that's not being offered, I think, across the board as a town incentive for employees. So that's my concern. I mean, I get Bruce, you know what I mean, as far as trying to pull people in, but I'm also thinking too, is if we start losing people, we how do you hire them if you don't have the incentive in other departments too? So I don't know what that answer is. I think if you're going to offer something, you've got to offer some kind of a package across the board. And I understand this is specific to fire department. I get that.
Right.
But I'm also thinking too, is you've got to have something for the administrative side of it and stuff like that. Am I wrong?
I like equity, but I don't know that that's our top goal. Right now, our top goal is trying to attract and retain people and stop the constant churn in you know, the public safety department. And I'm not saying, you know, this is something that, you know, it's a fait accompli, a done deal. I think it's something that you want to look at and see what you think. And that's all I'm asking. And it is, as I say, not going to be cheaper, but you know, it's fair. Some people say it won't work. It won't help. That could be true. I'm just telling you that we do hear it, and young people are looking for the full package if they can get it. Once they get their training and experience, they want main PERS, and to a lesser extent, the other things I've outlined. Not pay, of course. That's always top of mind for them.
Is there numbers? Therese, do you have any numbers for us on this? By
We do.
chance? Or is it something that, how soon do you need an answer? The question is, did you want an answer tonight?
No. All we're asking about tonight is, will you consider, I say, put the budget together the way it normally would be, and then have a separate analysis of main PERS and have a discussion during the budget.
But when they ask about retirement, do you say, we have a retirement plan?
We do.
This is our retirement
We
plan.
actually have a sheet we give them, so that
Yeah.
explains all the different things. Yeah,
I've never heard of me personally, sorry. Yeah,
well,
Well, you're not a state employee
or a school teacher.
or a school teacher. Or,
oh my God, stop nitpicking.
uh,
This is a rough
Yeah.
crowd.
There was a time, I mean, years ago, when I first started out, the main state retirement system was on the rocks, you know, and so that's changed, and it's a pretty, I think, a pretty well-funded program, pretty well-known program.
All right, I say bring the numbers, we'll have a discussion and see where it goes. You know what, we'll have budget finance in with that too, we'll see some numbers and yeah.
And that's what we
You guys good
committed
with
to
that?
union. I mean, we can't make the decision on something this, you know, sweeping. And so all we committed to the union was to see if the Board of Selectmen, the Budget Finance Committee would at least look at it. That's not a guarantee of approval. We'll look at it.
Well, the wording in the contract said that it would be looked at. It didn't say that a decision would be,
Right.
it said it would be looked at.
That's right. And that's all we're trying to do, is to say that we brought it to the elected bodies and they've looked at it and they've, you know, analyzed it and come up with a decision.
I'm just worried only because I know we've offered bonuses, we've increased pay umpteen times. Do you know what I mean? And I just think no matter what job you're in right now, there's not enough people. I like to know where all the people disappear too, so.
they call it the Great Resignation, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You can't find people. We can't find people.
No,
It's really bad right now. It's
I know, but where is everybody?
awful
That's just
job
it.
market. And
Right.
I don't think changing your retirement plan makes you retain employees. That's just my opinion, but I could be wrong.
Let's look at it. I'd like to see the paper numbers.
Well, right, and I don't mind looking at it, but I think, again, you're right, and I'm lucky right now, but I know like right now, a lot of these school kids are getting notes in the morning that says if your child rides bus so-and-so, there is no bus driver, you have to take your kids to school, and that's right here in our own RSU. So it's happening all over the place. So where this half of the world has gone, nobody knows, but I
And
don't
those
know.
bus drivers are covered by Maine PERS, by the way.
But not the same program as the teachers, I don't believe.
Oh my God, moving on. All right, so bring
Fire
it,
department.
we'll bring the numbers and we'll see what they look like. We'll have a discussion.
All right, thank you.
All right.
for that. Yes.
All right. Thanks, Sharice, and thanks, Bruce. All right, moving on. Report from the planning board pertaining to a recreational marijuana ordinance. Alex, we gave Alex the direction to go back, sorry, Alex, to go to the planning board, and he's gonna give us an update.
Yes, good evening. So yeah, the planning board is in the process of reviewing ordinance amendments for 2022. And they discussed at the December meeting a list of ordinance amendments. One of them was marijuana. And the conversation essentially was the planning board feels as though they're going to need a little bit more guidance from the select board on what specifically the town envisions for a marijuana ordinance. And, you know, we did reach out to the attorney and got a few samples from some other towns, and it's set up as a standalone ordinance. So I guess the consensus was they would really like to see a marijuana committee, review committee created to actually come up with the standalone marijuana ordinance. And then from there, the planning board can take that and decide where stuff will be allowed in the zoning ordinance and definitions and all that other stuff that comes along with it. But they don't really have anything to base their amendments to the land use ordinance on, because there isn't any guidance from, you know, the town on that. So that's kind of where they're at. I'm kind of just the messenger in this situation, but that's the update.
So in this case, I did see that meeting, and yes, they are looking for feedback. So we, are you guys up for having maybe a workshop next month with the planning board to kind of throw some ideas back around? And then that way, we can kind of talk about it more to see where we want to go with this, to see about the committee, you know, that type of thing.
Yes,
Sure, I'm open to it.
I am too.
Does the state have any examples of local ordinances?
Yeah, I mean,
Under
they're
the
all-
Office of Marijuana Policy?
Yeah, they're all essentially based on the same template. They're all very similar. But what we're finding is it's going to create quite a bit of work. There's a pretty intense process for certifying these businesses and making sure that they're, they meet all the rules and requirements. So it's definitely not something that should be taken lightly. Definitely needs a good look at.
So who's the one that certifies all them, you or the state?
Well, the state really, but it's treated very similarly to a business license. So it's modeled very similarly to our current business license ordinance, which goes through the clerk, then to you guys for new licenses. And that's
Okay.
how most of the towns are doing it.
So if we met with the planning board to get some kind of a rough outline of maybe what we want, and then what we can do is put together some kind of an application or whatever to put out to people and get a broad scope of people, on it. What do you guys think?
Well, I think, yeah, I mean, because you're gonna have to go through a lot of feeling process on what the people in town want too, so, I mean, you do that, you have to do that at a committee level, so they can have so they can have open meetings and whatever, and to look at that, so, I mean, that's kind of where I expected it was gonna kind of roll toward that, but the place to start it was at the planning board, because they've got some of the tools to be able to look at some of that, but
They kicked it back. They kicked it back good. Yeah, I did
Well,
see that.
I fully expect there'd be some kickback into some kind of a committee to look at that as far as what's really wanted, and where the issues are, so that an ordinance can be worked around that. But the starting point was there because they've got the ability to pull the ordinances from other places and things like that, and kind of see what the flavors look like from town to town and whatnot. And then you've got the issues of some, the ones that have started, what if they had to do it all over again, what would they do differently?
That's something really good actually to go ask some of these people. Yeah.
Well, fortunately, we don't even need to go far, because now our assistant code officer has great firsthand experience with marijuana being in Wyndham. So he has a lot of
25
takeaways.
shops in Wyndham they already have?
Yeah, so he has a lot of firsthand experience with it, and kind of knows where I guess some of the bugs are in their ordinance. So that's helpful information already.
Good. So, all right. So our next meeting actually is with, wait a minute, our first department head meeting isn't until March, and our regular meeting is the 8th. So our meeting starts at 6:30. Do you guys want to do like I don't know, do you think a half hour with the planning board beforehand would be good enough, just to try and get it,
On marijuana, a half hour?
No. What I'm saying is that we're kind of agreeing on, where we want to go with this as far as the planning board, because the planning board is the one that has, like you said, like Rolf said, has all the ordinances and how it fits in and stuff like that. But how we maybe want to do it, and maybe some ideas from them, and just say, yeah, let's push it forward. I don't know. Give me some ideas, Joe.
I think the Office of Marijuana Policy at the state level will probably give you some of the ins and outs of what you can and can't do. Most of the inspections are done by that office. I mean, the town, all it can do is say, we don't want it within 1,000 feet of a school, or, yeah, we only want it in this zone. I mean, that's what the town can do. But as far as the licensing of the facility itself, that's done at the state level.
Yeah, but I think that us can do a lot more. I don't want it near my daycare. I mean, I don't. I don't think it should be anything
Well,
like a
yeah, I
park
mean-
daycare or whatever. And the other thing is, I remember one of the comments was made, we don't want people doing it on their back decks. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Out of their homes. And should we stay in the commercial or the business districts? Do you know what I mean? There's
Yeah,
The other thing that comes up is licensing fees and things like that. That's, that's strictly town controlled. That's not state controlled. The state controls the, any tax or whatever they have on there. But as far as permitting fees and license fees and operational fees, those all would come under the town.
well, you have two different fees. I mean, you have the state fees, there's a bunch of state fees,
Yeah.
and then the town can add on their own fees.
Well, I mean, I'm one, honestly, and I'll still stick with it, but I'm not gonna hold it up. I don't want recreational in town. I really don't, but I'm just one. So I
Well,
will,
there are
but
two of
I'll work
us.
with, so there's Sam. So, but on the other hand is, I'm, whatever we have to do to get it right for the town, So what do you guys want to do? Do you guys want to have a workshop with them? Do you want to put together a committee? What do you want to do?
I'm good either way.
Rolf?
I think we workshop.
I think.
Okay.
Coordinating with the planning board makes sense.
But I mean, the workshop really is just to kind of forge the next step, which may be the coming out of the workshop would be, say, the next step is to form a committee. The workshop, coming out of the workshop may be, entirely different, but I mean, it's just, that's one step. Really the goal on that is to come out of there with what's the next step.
I mean, you could always send this to a town vote and say, do you want recreational marijuana in town?
Yeah, but no, but but it's not even that. I mean, it's still a matter of, we still have to work out what we want as far as recreational. So it's not a matter of whether we want it in town or not. It's just a matter of, what do we want our town to have as guidelines? That's how I'm looking at this meeting.
Well, if you have a vote and the public says we don't want recreational marijuana, you don't have to do anything.
That's right.
Okay, so, but then if they do vote to do that, then we're right back at this step. And we
Right,
start all over.
correct.
That's why
Okay.
I think it makes sense to have a committee and a thoughtful process that over a period of time, looking at other ordinances, looking at how it's been handled other places, taking into consideration all the different concerns and considerations that you've brought up tonight, and then you come up with a cohesive, here's the proposal, the ordinance, whatever, and you send it to the town and see what happens then.
But that's after we take it to the town for a vote to see if they even want recreational in town.
No, I'm saying the other way around. I'm saying go through the deliberative process.
But why do that if the town votes no?
Well,
But
I think the
you know what I
town's the town may want more information, yes or no.
But we don't have any information right now.
Well, that's why you have the committee and the deliberative process over a year or something, and, come up with a proposal. Or if you think it's a non-starter and you want to throw it to a vote, you could do that, I guess.
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
But I worry and wonder if you get a yes vote, and then where are you?
Right back, like I said, like to here, to figure out what we want to do. So what do you guys want to do?
Okay, well, if you had a vote and they said yes, then you're obligated at that point to come up with the ordinance to
Right.
allow it. If they say no, then, then it stops where it is. But if they were to say yes, then the populace has voted to say, yes, we want to allow it. Therefore, you now have to create the ordinance to, that would allow it.
Right.
I guess if you structure it that way, that would make the most sense. Then you'd be done with it one way or the other. It'd be over, or you'd be off and running to do an ordinance, I guess.
Yeah, but, well, yeah, but off and running, it's still gonna take time to be able to put together
right.
what's best for Raymond, yeah. So, I mean, and like Alex says, I mean, you wanna think long and hard, right, Alex?
Yeah, I think, I know a couple of towns that have gone the route of doing essentially a referendum style question saying, do you want the town to explore an ordinance for this? And they didn't draft anything until that vote was done. And then
Right.
started that process. So that is a route you guys can take if you want to push it off till June and do that. And then that would give, the town 6 months to draft an ordinance to have it ready to get put on the warrant for 2023. I think it's possible.
It's up to you guys.
I would send it out in June. Isn't that our next vote?
Yep.
Sue?
So
Nope.
It is, and the upside is it should be a decent sized election.
Right.
It's a primary.
Yeah. So
All
I would wait until June, send it out to referendum. Does the town want a recreational marijuana policy in town? And then, go from there.
So, but listen to what you just said. Does the town want a recreational marijuana policy? If they vote no, does that mean, no, we don't have a policy, but we have recreational stores? Or,
No, what you,
Just word it differently, that's all.
no, the wording would have to be,
Yeah.
does the town?
Yeah, you
want
have to get it
allow-
designed by a lawyer.
right,
Essentially, it would have to be designed around saying, does the town desire to have, or wish to have recreational marijuana in town? And then,
People in the town.
and if the vote is yes, subject to the formal ordinance. If they say yes, then it says you now have to create the ordinance. If they say no, then it says that no, they did not want it, and therefore it's a dead issue.
all right.
I mean, the actual wording would have to get, worked out, specifically on that. But I mean, essentially what you're saying is, do you want it? And if you do, then an ordinance would have to be created. So it's not that if they say yes, it starts the next day. It says that if they say yes, it says the next step is an ordinance has to be created, which then has to have town meeting approval as well. So, so it
It's a whole new
if
process
only-
then
if
after
it's
that.
no, the issue's dead. If it's yes, it just kicks it to the next step, which says you now must create an ordinance which has to be approved by the populace.
All right, so Alex, if you can go back and let them know that. So we're not gonna have a workshop with planning board. And we'll get the write-up for whatever the wording is for that and put it on in June.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, so moving on, consideration,
Madam Chair,
yes.
could I read back what I've put in just to make sure that I haven't screwed something up? So consensus is to send the question of whether or not the town of Raymond wants to allow the sale of recreational marijuana, subject to the adoption of an ordinance, to referendum vote at the June election in 2022. Okay. Thank you.
Do we just lose Sam?
No, he just doesn't have video right now.
Video.
Okay. All right,
We've only lost his face.
yeah, all right, we're good with that? Good. All right. Now we can move on. Consideration of adding the Juneteenth federal holiday to the list of paid holidays. Dawn.
Okay, so Sue has done a little research and put a paragraph, I guess, in the packet, which I can read for folks at home. So Juneteenth, this is a federal holiday that has been or is in the process of being added by most Cumberland County municipalities. I should go back and say, of course, federal holiday already approved, and I'll get to that. Also, the state of Maine has approved this and added it to their official holiday schedule, which is something that historically we have, I guess, used here. So Juneteenth, officially Juneteenth, National Independence Day, and also known as Jubilee Day, Emancipation Day, Freedom Day, and Black Independence Day, is a federal holiday in the United States commemorating the emancipation of African-American slaves. It has been celebrated annually on June 19th in various parts of the United States since 1865. The day was recognized as a federal holiday on June 17, 2021, when President Joe Biden signed the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act into law. Juneteenth's commemoration is on the anniversary date of the June 19, 1865 announcement of General Order Number 3 by Union Army General Gordon Granger proclaiming freedom for slaves in Texas, which was the last state of the Confederacy with institutional slavery. So that's a little background on Juneteenth. As I said, it's something that is pretty much, you know, I think been adopted by most by now Cumberland County communities. There were a couple of exceptions that Sue discovered. I think a couple of small towns have not yet acted on it or considered it, besides us.
I did a very small survey last Friday, and Casco has accepted it. Wyndham is voting on it tonight. Standish and Gray were closed, so I had no idea. I didn't have a chance to call them today. Bridgeton has adopted it. New Gloucester has. Sebago and Poland haven't even considered it yet. Is what I was told.
Pretty much the towns that I'm more familiar with are the ones that are, you know, heading towards the greater Portland metro area, and pretty much it's a standard issue there, I think.
Yes, I just went for our bordering towns and the ones that were real close.
Right.
I mean, it's recognized as a federal holiday, no matter what you feel about it. So I just say it becomes another holiday for the town.
I mean, it's both the federal and it's now a state. So, I mean, you know, I mean, it's essentially kind of defining lines there.
Right.
I remember, I'm old enough to remember when Martin Luther King Day was also in the same position. And, you know, most towns do follow the state of Maine holiday schedule. And I understand it's a generous holiday schedule, but that's what they do.
Great. Do we need a motion on that?
I'll make
Yes,
a motion
please.
that town of Raymond recognizes Juneteenth Day as a holiday for all employees.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right. Update on appointing members to a comprehensive plan committee. Sue.
We only have 4 applicants right now, which would be a quorum if the committee was only 5, or even if it was 7, but we just barely have a quorum. Frank McDermott, Greg Foster, Peter Levitt, and Brad McCurtain have applied. I think I put all their applications in your packets. I'm not sure where you'd like to go from this, if you just want to wait longer, if we want to put a little more effort into advertising, or if you want to start bending some elbows, or rather twisting some elbows.
Again, I think, I gotta sneeze. I think Marshall is gonna do it, and I will check with him tomorrow. I'm gonna sneeze, sorry. And I don't know, I say we advertise again or put it out somewhere.
Have you put it on the board, the electronic message board?
Yeah,
Been
it's on.
running there for about 2 months.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people recognize that there's a lot of work behind that. So it's, you know, it's
Right.
not one of those easy to get people there, you know. And what you know, my fear is with just this number of people, that it's going to have a hard time getting a lot of hard time getting things done. You know, that being said, if we say yes, you know, we say yes to those people if they get started, maybe that can help to generate some other interest, and then bring some people in that way. You know, it's just I don't, you know, I hate to have people start a committee that's going to get burned out on because of, you know, lack of people.
It's very curious to me, these, and I guess it may say something about comprehensive planning, actually, because at the advent of this sort of exercise, that in my experience, having gone through several of them, it was something that many people wanted to participate in, great interest in it. And I don't really see that now.
I think they realize how much work it is.
Maybe. The other thing.
Am I correct that, I'm sorry.
The other thing we could do, I guess, would be, I could get with, you know, Teresa, if you all have ideas, you could brainstorm and give me some suggestions, and I'd be willing to reach out to people and explain what it is.
The last comprehensive plan committee had what, 9 members or 11 members? It was
Yeah.
quite large.
Quite large, yeah. You need it too.
Right.
Yeah, I think 4 is just not enough, not even
not.
5.
Yeah, I don't even think 5's enough. It doesn't give you a good, feeling for what the town really wants.
Well,
Right.
well, none of that, but if you look at it from the task standpoint, there's a lot of tasks in there.
Yeah,
And to put that on put that on 4 or 5 people is, no, I don't think it's fair to them, number one, because it's a volunteer committee. Number two,
Right.
Number one, number two, it's prone to get burnout, and you get half the thing done, and all of a sudden you don't have anybody left. So
does
I
the
mean, I-
state
I
even
have- I
require
have
a
no-
comprehensive plan anymore?
it doesn't require it, no.
Yeah.
There's not even the comprehensive department or whatever the
Planning
It was
department.
under the state planning office. They got rid of the state planning office.
Right.
So, I mean,
So-
I have no problem in approving the people that have done that. But, the real
Right.
question is, do you want them to start without some more people?
I don't. I think 4 is not enough. So if we don't have enough people, do we, I don't know, do we take those people, maybe put them with us as a board and break it down in sections and work on it? And just have meetings like as a select board, maybe even the budget, finance and these extras? Because that would bring a lot more people together and just hit sections of it.
Well, I mean, if you look back at it, so why did we ask for this committee to be formed? Because there was questions from some of the people in town. Should we do this again?
Yeah.
And so, the answer was, yeah, it can be looked at, but if all you're getting is a response from 4 people that are willing to serve on it, maybe the desire from the town is not there.
Not there,
Right.
right? And honestly, I think putting, yeah.
I would say you continue that, you start a new advertising campaign. And if
Run
you
another
don't
one.
get at least 9 to 11 people who apply, I just don't, you need
let
a
it go.
cross section of town. Look at the people who are applying. It's the same old people, which is great, who are driven to make this town better, but it doesn't offer a diversity of opinion of anybody new who might have moved to town.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
I just think we got to get more people to apply, and if we don't, then,
We leave it.
maybe when we have town meeting this year, we can have a call for people to do part of the comprehensive plan and see if there's any interest there.
Okay.
Maybe, what about if we did something for the Roadrunner that kind of in a concise way said, this is what it is and how it relates to the town's future? Do you want to be a part of that? Kind of make it simple so people can understand what it is. Many people may not know what it is. I mean, comprehensive plan committee, unless you're an old person, and as we've been told here in Raymond, they were all old people. We know about this because we've been through it. I think younger people may not know what this is even.
Yeah.
Right, right.
I like that idea. Something in the Roadrunner.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. Good.
But simple, something simple, so that people can get it.
That's you, Dawn.
Simple, yeah.
No.
But at the same time, I would reach back out to the ones that put the applications in and let them know where
What we're doing.
where their things are on there, so that because you don't want to get in the situation. Well, yeah, I applied for it, but no one ever told me anything, and it's died on the vine. So at least that that they're getting the feedback that
At least let them know where we stand, that we're waiting for more members to apply.
Well, and that's why I didn't wait to bring it to you folks, because I didn't want them to just languish that long.
Yeah.
The other thing that may be hampering us too, folks, is the worldwide pandemic. A lot of people have gone to ground and like it that way right now. For good reason.
volunteerism throughout the country is
down.
way down, unfortunately.
Yep. So,
That too.
all right, good. We'll do that. You, Dom and Sue, and you guys will work on that.
Mhm.
All right, discussion of select board meetings format for the foreseeable future. That's me. I'm gonna call for Zoom meetings. Sorry, I am under serious direct contact with so many germs right now that I do not want to bring them in. The other thing I'm concerned about is people are just going out and not even telling anybody that they're contagious or that they have COVID. I mean, anybody can walk into that broadcast studio and be a direct contact and infect everybody in there and not tell anybody. They don't have any obligation to. So the question is, I will not be able to make meetings in person. There's just no way, and I have all of us in my own house right now walking around with masks. It's pretty sad. It really is. Because we're direct contacts. And so I would like to see us do Zoom meetings for a while. But how do you guys feel about other meetings being in the broadcast studio? Because again, it's the same way. If we're going to keep this down, we've got to, I guess, limit contact.
Well, I think we left it up to the committees to make their decision based on their people, what they want to do. So it'd be the same as, I think for us to say to them that they have to go to the Zoom mode versus they have to see what their people's comfort levels are. It'd be, it's the same as if we did it the other way and said, no, you can't do Zoom, you just have to do live meetings. I think that's, that puts people at a disadvantage too. So I think your best thing there is to say that, this is what the select board is going to do. It's up to you as the committee to decide what you want to do. And they all signed on to that forum, that forum or whatever, the meeting forum that said that they could do that. It just says that if they do that, then they have to, it has to be publicized that way and they have to allow people to come in on Zoom.
Well, here's another thing though, too, is you've also got, I don't know. We've got the broadcast studio, that these guys are out back and we need them to be able to broadcast the meetings. So if people are coming into these meetings and anybody is carrying a COVID thing that they don't even know they're direct contacts, that also puts them at risk.
But all you have to do though, Teresa, is walk out in the world and you don't know.
Oh, I know that. I know that. And trust me, I get that. But
look, I've been exposed to thousands of people. Thousands.
I get that. But I'm looking at me exposed to right now that I'm not willing to do it at the infants. I got a 10-month-old that's a direct contact right now. I got an 85-year-old mom. I've got my family. You know what I mean? So I'm not willing to risk the little ones. I'm really not, that they can't get it. So to me, I say Zoom meetings. And if you guys don't want to do it, then we'll figure something out. But right now, I can't. I'd be coming in there next to Sam every day with germs. Huh, Sam?
I'm in total agreement with you, Teresa. I think Zoom meetings for the foreseeable future. No, that doesn't mean forever.
Right.
Maybe the next two.
And just see what happens.
Let's do it by meeting. Let's say the next meeting will be a Zoom meeting. And we'll decide the meeting after that.
Right. And I have to say, I really think not long here. I think the schools are going to be going Zoom.
I think you're exactly correct.
The high school right now has been Zoom, I think, for the last 2 days because they don't have enough staff. So it's up to you guys.
Madam Chair, the health officer has her hand raised.
Oh, I didn't see her. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Kathy.
Hi, Don Willett and I did discuss this the other day, and our policy for town buildings is that everybody be masked. So whether you choose to do a Zoom meeting or you do a meeting at the broadcast studio, because of the increase in COVID that we've seen in the town of Raymond, I think we got to stick by that policy and at least have everybody masked at the meetings. I know a lot of people aren't wearing masks when I watch, some of the different boards. And to me, I don't care whether they do Zoom or not, but I think we have to at least enact the mask policy throughout town buildings, just for the safety of everybody.
Right. And I agree with that. And I was just going to ask you that, Kathy. I know I think there's 2 on the school board that don't do it. I think it's the Planning Board of Appeals. I don't think any of them do it. And I know we weren't doing it either for a little while too. But things are crazy right now.
No, I agree with Rolf, I guess, on his perspective of the individual committees, because that's in keeping with the governor's order and, applicable guidance that way. But what I've been doing, and I consulted with, Teresa about this, is I get requests from outside groups regularly for use of our facilities. And I have not been approving those since, talking with Teresa last week about this. And, I don't know as we have an obligation, but I think it's something that is, good citizenship, good behavior, to model good behavior. And I'm not sure having meetings of outside groups that we really, and we can't even control our inside groups as far as masking goes, if they absolutely decide they're not going to wear a mask. So I haven't been approving those. So I guess I'd look for some guidance that way. I think it would be better to minimize the in-person contacts, whether they be committees or, external groups. But as far as the internal committees, let them decide, I guess, one by one. But if they do decide to go ahead, they're going to do it with masks, in my opinion.
So if each department does it, that's fine. But like Kathy just says, our policy right now is every building in the town of Raymond then has to have masks. Are we going to send a notice out to each of these committee members? You know what I mean? And like boards, so they know what the rules are when they go in there?
But they know the rules.
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
No, they don't. There's still meetings being held without the masks. And that was even us, like last month. So Kathy, when did it go masked in the buildings?
We put that in, I believe, October,
Oh,
as it started clearing back.
We've been following a mask protocol of some kind since the onset.
not the last meeting we didn't.
No, you guys didn't, but. the
Right,
town
right.
building.
I'm talking about the town administration, the fire department. We've been doing that for some time. The elected bodies have been a little spotty on it.
All right, but so isn't the broadcast studio also a town building?
Yes.
So we should have had him on.
Well, I don't
So
control
let me
you.
ask this.
I'm watching
So
Joe's face. He doesn't like this.
No, I don't at all. Do you want to go down the road with Portland and Brunswick and mandate masks
No.
in every public building in town? I mean, come on. You guys are overreacting to this thing. Way
Joe.
overreacting.
Oh,
No, Joe, no, I am
I don't
dead
think so,
serious.
Joe.
I didn't think it would be in my house, and COVID has hit my house. With all the kids I deal with and all the ones out in schools and all the families going to work and everything else, we have it. And you know what? It's kind of crazy. And it's crazy. It's here. And I don't think I'm overreacting at all. Again, it's totally up to you guys, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm not. I guess, you do everything you can to stop it from coming in. I mean, vaccinated, most of the kids here are vaccinated. They can get vaccinated. I get the boosters, everything. And it's in my house, so yeah. And I don't know how any of, if we test positive, how we're going to react to it. You know what I mean? So
Teresa, we kind of said it for the town buildings of following the CDC guidelines that said if you can't social distance and stay within, at least 6 feet apart, then you wore masks. So that's why we said it that way. And because for the fire department, we do have a higher risk. So we did it just to keep our crews intact. And I believe right now I have 3 members out with COVID. But
and CDC has been really kind of confusing, to be quite honest, too. I mean, doing that 5 days after, Well, DHS hasn't even dropped the down to the 5 days. They're still requiring 10 days quarantine. You know, if I get it, I got 10 days that I've got to be out. You know what I mean? So I know, Joe, I'm watching that face of yours and I know those expressions on that face and you're like, yeah, whatever. But it's here. It has knocked on my door and it has come in without my permission. So again, I have to this is my profession. And like Kathy, you know, I've got to keep these kids safe. You know what I mean? So me going out to these meetings, I will mask. I get that. But if I don't have to, I don't want to. Where we lose Sam again? Oh no, he just went off. Sam keeps playing. So what do you guys want to do?
I think we can speak for these, you can speak for the select board alone right now and put it on Zoom. And I may be just giving you my private opinion, my personal opinion, because I'm at the age, I have an underlying condition. I don't want to.
Okay. Ralph, what do you want to do?
Well, you've already, I mean, we've already said, we'll go Zoom for the, and, kind of make the call and see where we are meeting the meeting as far as what the winds of war are bringing.
Exactly. I'm hoping we're going to switch it, but I think we've gone back so far.
Because ultimately we've got to, at some point we've got to fish or cut bait on town meeting too.
I know.
We got some time on that, though.
I'm hoping. I'm hoping. I have to say, if it's gone the way it is, I do not think we'll get a lot of people at town meeting if we have an open one. Again, what, 30, 35 people?
Yep.
And that's not very many. Joe is just like his you can just read what he's thinking all over his face.
I will give deference to the chair to call a meeting however she wants to do it.
All right, so I say we do it for the just we'll see what next month brings. All right, so next month we will see how it's looking, and if it's a Zoom meeting, then it's a Zoom meeting. And what do you guys want to do about the broadcast studio regarding masks?
You already have a town policy.
Yeah.
That's the town
Right,
building.
Right, but we haven't enforced it at the broadcast studio, only in the town office and the public safety. Because
They're sitting closer than 6 feet to each other. And they're in the room more than 15 minutes. So put a sign on there, masks are required to enter the building.
Why don't you do what most places are doing? If you're unvaccinated, you must wear a mask.
You know what? I have witnessed somebody fully vaccinated get COVID really bad, and I witnessed somebody unvaccinated get COVID. So I say you just wear the masks. I know it's only in the town buildings. It's not all over town. Portland has it in every building, everywhere. Ryder has to do it, and Ryder's in Portland, where Kent works. So it's every business right now has the masks. I'm just saying town buildings, if we're going to have a meeting, that they're going to be sitting close to each other. Rolf is
Madam Chair,
yes.
the health officer has her hand up again.
God, I keep forgetting to look at that. Hi, Kathy.
I think it's very hard for any of us to be the mask police. So I think we post the doors that we prefer you to wear a mask, especially if unvaccinated, and go with that. I mean, you're gonna, I don't want to say piss off people, but you're gonna get some people really upset. But, we can write it in consideration of others, everyone please wear a mask, or just say unvaccinated must wear a mask. But I think you at least have to post the door, tell the boards what our policy is, and let them go from there. Because we can't police it.
I could, but I'd just be mean and nasty.
We can't police it, but I think we can. I mean, I'm not opposed to that, but I think we can send a stronger, message. But we can't police it. That's for sure.
No, and just out of respect for anybody else, you know what I mean? Please mask. It's required in all Raymond town buildings. What do you think, Rolf? You didn't say anything.
I've said enough already, so.
All right, let's do that. If we can do that, so we'll just send the committees, we'll just say, you know, if you're not masked, if you're not vaccinated, you gotta wear a mask. And, yeah, all right. We know how this is gonna go. All right, moving on. Public comment. Let's see, who's here from the public?
Would be
Kathy.
Mrs. Goslin.
Yep. Go ahead, Kathy.
I think she just forgot to put her hand
She
down.
just probably didn't put her hand down.
Oh, she's gone. Oh, no, she put it down. All right. Selectman comment.
I like to give praise to the Public Works Department for the job they're doing on the roads. I think they're doing a great job. I leave early in the morning sometimes, and you know, after an ice storm or sheet of ice on the road, and I have not been afraid in the town of Raymond. They've really done a good job.
Oh, good job. That's great. Cool. Thank you. I know, man, they're out there for long hours. All right, anybody else? Nope. All right, town manager's report.
Okay, got a lot of dates here from Sue. So first we'll start with our confirming dates for the upcoming regular meetings, February 8th and March 8th. Everybody good there?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so now here comes a raft of reminders of upcoming meetings, budget schedule. February 23rd, town manager submits budget to select board and budget finance committee. March 1st is our first department head review at 6:30. March 15th is the second one, also at 6:30. I guess she's at 6:30 throughout here, except when you get on the bottom. So anyway, we've got a budget workshop on March 31st budget workshop, April 5th, select board warrant review and approval. April 12th is the budget finance committee budget article recommendations. April 19th is the select board final warrant approval. And then the town meeting option, town meeting at Jordan Small Middle School, #1 on June 7th. If we have an open town meeting at 6, or June 14th, if we vote the town warrant via secret ballot, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Then we have a reminder of our upcoming holiday schedule. Monday, January 17th is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I have got a couple other things. You remember the Main Street sidewalk from, what is it, 6-7 years ago?
Yeah.
Well, bids are being opened tomorrow at 2 p.m. And so we have had a lot of contractor interest. How Nathan and the engineers have structured it is that they have to complete the project within the next fiscal year, but it has to be done within a 90-day window in the next fiscal year. So the speculation is, because of the workload and the way that they will probably see this project, is that it would probably end up being a spring or fall project. That's of course assuming that we get bids that we can, a bid that we can accept. And but I guess the fact that we have competition, apparently have competition, we've had a lot of inquiries about it, says that we, may get some good pricing, I hope. We'll find out. So that's that one. On our county ARPA, American Rescue Plan grant applications, we have been invited from the pre-application to the application phase. And the two we're going to go forward with, because they have the greatest likelihood of success, will be the Tassel Top septic system bathroom proposal, and then the public safety staffing proposals. They've recently just broadened the uses that municipalities can put these funds to. They were pretty narrowly drawn for rural communities, particularly in a place like Maine originally. And if you're not in an urban center where you have a lot of public health issues and issues with, food insecurity, homelessness, we did think about the food pantry, but they're in good, fiscal shape and good with respect to inventory. But it was really biased towards, people in crisis and need that way, which we don't have a significant, component of that in our town. So we're going to go with those two. I think the Tassel Top septic, in my mind, qualifies as a sewer. It's a sanitary sewer, really. And then the staffing has just been, I guess, moved up and prioritized higher. So that was a county thing, I think. And then I had a note here. Bruce wanted me to tell you, I'm gonna find it here. Now I've lost my note, but anyway, he's been appointed by the Maine Fire Chiefs Association, I believe, to their International Codes Council. And so he's the liaison, here it is, liaison of the Maine Fire Chiefs group to the International Codes Council. So congratulations, Bruce, on that.
Let's go.
That's what I have.
All right, anything else? No? All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor? All right. Have a good day.
Hey,